Scaling up in the hospitality industry can be a frustrating experience, even with the most revolutionary product or service. So how does a new company go from zero to hero with limited resources? I've invited Nick Horgan, Chief Commercial Officer for Amaze Insights, to talk a little bit about bootstrapping success. I've asked him questions like, how did Amaze Insights claim big wins with brands in just months? How was his journey different with an enterprise level company? And what's his best advice on how to scale quickly? Hear from one of the industry's best in the biz. Check this out. All right. Hey, Nick. Appreciate you joining me on the Sync Show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Really good to see you, Cory. Extremely excited to be here with you.
Fantastic. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. We're going to talk about bootstrapping. And I've got Nick Horgan. He's with Amaze Insights. And I'm going to get right at it. First question is, we've had some amazing conversations, no pun on that. But Amaze Insights has had some incredible growth in just a short amount of time. And it's gone from opening its doors to some pretty big wins in 8 months with little or no marketing. I actually did a little snooping on your website, as I love to do in my agency space. So what gives? How can you clue us in on a little bit on that?
Absolutely. And what I'll share first is we really had, it's 8 months, but we had a tremendous head start because what was Amaze, which was spelled with 2 A's, Amaze was built by Jamie Job and Mike Kennie, who are both absolutely phenomenal people. So they had built a product that is truly exceptional, and they built it in partnership with Sonesta Hospitality, Sonesta Hotels. So that really gave a very good head start. So if you look at it, we're not the typical startup or even scale up, because you have people that had really in-depth industry experience. They built a product that was really hitting a need that was very extensive in the market. And then the key was, with their expertise and this phenomenal product that they built, when it was really shown to the wider market, it hit a spot that had really been underserved in the market. So it was almost like the perfect storm as far as timing. And that's where I think that this has been not the traditional bootstrap startup or scale up, but really having the experience that Mike and Jamie bring to the table, and who they are as people and how well they know the industry. They were able to build a product that is not typical, and that allowed us to really have results that were not typical. And it's also something where Jamie and Mike really had been having conversations with a lot of leaders in the hospitality space. And then it's also something where I think what we found, and I think you'll see in a lot of cases, is momentum helps to build more momentum. So when Outrigger Hospitality selected Amaze Insights, that got us on the radar of some of the other companies such as Montage that really looked at this product and realized it can help drive better results for their hotels. And then, of course, our partnership with Aimbridge made an enormous difference, where if you look at the largest hotel management company, when they selected Amaze Insights for all of their hotels in the Americas, we were extremely excited about that, not just because of the scale that it brings to the table, but because Aimbridge really helped us to understand what we could do with this product and platform and how we can grow that further. And I really think that about all of our customers, where we have some of the smartest people in the entire industry as our customers. It's allowing us to really see how we can take this to the next level and really grow the platform. So certainly a very exciting place to be.
Fantastic. I would wager to believe that your partnership with Sonesta right out of the gate, that almost affirmed or confirmed the concept, right? Can you share a little bit more insights on when you have a brand like this behind you, because this industry is not built for, risk takers, right? No one wants to be the pioneer, inventor, especially in the tech space. So tell me the importance of having that brand behind you as you're building that momentum and scaling.
That's a really great question and a great point. And I think that is, without question, a very risk-averse industry, and I think rightfully. And if you look at Sonesta, they really weren't taking a huge risk though, because the people they partnered with to build this were very much known entities in the industry. You have Mike Kennie, who had 17 years with Newmarket and Amadeus, which is really both phenomenal companies in the space. Amadeus acquired Newmarket, and then Jamie Job, who had a 25 plus year history on the reporting side. So when they were looking at trying to solve a specific issue they had, they looked at Jamie and Mike and the two of them coming together to build this. So even though it was a product that didn't exist, very different than if it was a startup that was going to them saying, hey, I've got this great idea. Do you want to partner with us on this? Where I think Mike and Jamie were the exact right people to build out the platform to give them really the next generation reporting that Sonesta needed to drive the results. And then when they had partnered together and built that, they realized that this wasn't just something that was going to be able to be a game changer for Sonesta, but this is something that really could be a game changer for the industry. And that's exactly what we've found and what we've seen.
Great. Was this a widely known pain point or challenge? Or was this very specific and acute? Okay, yeah, okay. Can you explain?
It's very widely known, and specifically by me. That's the other part, is when I first saw this platform, I was truly blown away by it. And when I was looking for really the next opportunity and what I wanted to do with my next several years and the next stage of my career, I was fortunate enough to have a lot of different opportunities, and some of those were some really great opportunities with great companies that were truly hard to not take. But when I knew both Mike and Jamie extremely well, and they're people of very high character, integrity, and also people that I'd want to spend time with. So that part's important. But what was also really important is when I first saw the product, I was truly blown away by what they had done, because for 25 years I had been asked questions that I had to tap dance around and position, where this was a product that just had those. And so at the time, I have a friendship and now a business partnership with Ford Blakely. So Ford is the founder of Zingle, and Zingle was later acquired by Medallia, and Ford's just an exceptional person, and the two of us had wanted to do something together really for quite some time, and the timing just never quite worked out. And it's even possible that I would have looked at Zingle as a place to join, but then when he sold to Medallia, I think Medallia is a great company, but it most likely would have been an equity play situation, which afterwards would have been a little too late on it. So Ford and I were looking at different companies in the space and where to potentially make investments. And then I saw this and was truly blown away by what they had. And I think Ford got very excited about how excited I was about this product. And then when he started looking at it, we then took it to a broader group of hospitality companies. And we had the same reaction really from each of those, where it was, and this is interesting to look at too, where Amaze Insights is something that until people see it, they think that they already have it. So say, oh, you know what? We already do analytics. We already have business intelligence. We're already pulling this together. We have all of our hotels on one sales and catering platform. So we really have all of this. And then about 5 minutes into the demonstration, almost every time they say, yeah, we have this, but it doesn't look quite as good as this is what I'm seeing. Then as we get a little further into the product, they say, oh, we don't have this. And then about 25 minutes in, they say, we don't have anything anywhere near this. And even if we went and did this ourselves for a year, we probably wouldn't have that. And then they'll also say, and we're looking at not only where you are today, but where you're going. And that's the part that I really am excited about, is we're bringing the right people, not just our employees and that, but the right people from the customer side together, where we're being really specific about who we target for this platform, because we want to have really great customers. And that's exactly what we found that can help us to grow this platform. And it's not something where we're saying we want to sell this to every single hotel that's out there, which I'm sure, of course, we do want to do exactly that. But as we are in this stage of growth, the type of customers that we add is incredibly important. And we've been so fortunate to have really exceptional people on that side as well. And that's also what our pipeline looks like too. So
wonderful.
Very exciting place to be.
That's great. You have obviously a very unique perspective coming from a very well-respected, heavy hitter, legacy enterprise company in the industry that we all know and love. You're now with Amaze Insights. Huge difference between the two cultures, obviously, and how things and how the operations flow. So how was that journey different, working with a enterprise legacy and working with a new startup? Could you maybe share a little bit of those differences with us?
Absolutely. And that's what I'd say is, so in my experience so I was with a medium to large company with new market, phenomenal place, great culture. And then after the Amadeus acquisition happened, I'll also say that was a phenomenal culture as well. And I still am a huge fan of Amadeus. I think it's a fantastic company and I had a great experience there. So it is a very large company with massive resources, and they're able to do almost anything if you really look at it, because of the depth of resources that they have and the skill set of the people, and candidly the financial backing as well. So if you think about the ability to sponsor events for customers and to make a really big presence at a trade show, the big players in the industry can obviously very easily do that. Where if you're in a smaller company, in a startup or a scale up, you have to be really specific about the spend you do on the marketing side and attending trade shows, which I'm a huge fan and supporter of the major trade shows in the industry, but it's hard to make an impact, especially at the really large trade shows. So looking at the cost of a booth and the presence and staffing, all of those things can be really challenging. Where I look at with the investment that we make and do, there are trade shows that are more one-to-one focused, and a great example of that is BITAC. So Rich, Viola, and the BITAC team, they do a really good job of setting up networking events and one-on-one time. And for a company of our size, it was really valuable to be able to be at an event like that. And I think I know we've already seen a tremendous ROI on the event. And then we've partnered with BITAC to launch the Amaze Insights Awards, where we recognize people in the industry who have had a transformative impact, a positive impact on the overall industry. So that's something that we were really excited to partner with BITAC and do our awards ceremony with. And that was a way, as we were building this brand, to really have our brand out there and positioned with really great people in the industry. And that was a little different, and something that we did that was a little more on kind of the creative side, where doing something like that with a very large organization would have been challenging to do. So it's where, being small, you can take maybe some risks that the larger companies wouldn't, and it actually did wind up going really well, but it wasn't without risk, just as we're targeting the award winners and doing this. And we did it at a time when no one knew who Amaze Insights was, because we had named the company in December. So we are really excited to also be at the Sales, Marketing, and Revenue Management Summit that will be at the Ritz-Carlton Sarasota, February 4th to 6th, 2024. And that's something that a few of us from the Amaze Insights side, as well as other leaders in the industry, actually took to the BITAC team. And we said, we love their format, we love what they do, but this is not something that we see right now in the industry with sales, marketing, and revenue management. So bringing those disciplines together in BITAC's same great format, where that was something that we had pitched the idea and talked to BITAC about, and were extremely supportive, and they were as well. And that's where I look at, where if you can find those partnerships where it really works for everyone involved, it can help to put some superchargers behind smaller companies and scale ups and startups to be able to be at the table with, say, the massive large companies, which are also great too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How much of an advantage, one of the biggest gripes I've had working in as a creative by nature,
Sure.
I tend not to like to work in color in the lines, so to speak. And what drives me absolutely insane is bureaucracy, red tape, and stonewalling.
Sure.
I understand that it's at certain levels, but I also see that as hindrance with some of the large companies. Change is happening so fast, and it's almost like by the time we get ideas rolling or things that we could explore, and all the vetting and bureaucracy we have to go, the ideas pass by, right?
And the situation on the ground has changed, and that's something, and that is where I do think that I have a little more of an entrepreneurial spirit, and I want to do those creative things and go through where, for instance, at the Ambridge conference, where we took a risk on that, and I did confirm with my senior executives there that it would be okay. So we did a very professional onboarding session where we went through, and then I had the #1 Elvis impersonator come in and sing a song at the end of it.
Good.
I thought about it. I was originally going to kick off the session, but I was like, you know what? If it doesn't have the right energy, it was a risk, and it really was a risk. When I look at, had I been with a large bureaucratic company, probably not something that, and it may be that they would have been willing to do it, but going through in the same way. And it was a lot of fun, and it was well received. And then you had that team out singing because they had the right energy and the personalities for that. So it's, yeah.
You just brought up a really good idea. That's an amazing idea. And what as someone that is obviously in the hotel suppliers and vendors, trade shows are a big part of exposure, right? If you don't have the budget as an Amadeus or enterprise company that can dominate the real estate, you brought up a really good idea, and that would be my best advice. Come out with something, apparel, actors, things like that are going to create a buzz and awareness and people talking about that. Wow, did you see XYZ Amaze Insights do this thing? It was incredible. Everybody's like, yes, it needs to be appropriate, but if you're breaking through that norm where everybody's behind the booth and everybody's doing the same old shtick, all it takes is a little bit of creativity and thinking outside the box to do something that's going to be thought-provoking, right?
You nailed it, Cory. You really did. And that's the exact part where, and the first time we did something like that, there was a really good Tom Cruise impersonator that's here in SoCal. And I had seen him at an event before, and he has the exact right personality. And I knew that part. And when I shared with our CEO, Jamie, that I wanted to do it, she did back it, but she was like, I just don't understand. Why would someone want to get a picture with someone just because he looks like Tom Cruise? And then I was like, just let me take the shot. And she's okay. And she did back it and went through. And so that, when I say the approval process, it was literally a 30-second conversation with Jamie and me back and forth. And then we were done and it was approved. I got to do it. So Mary Grace McCaffrey, who is an absolutely exceptional person in the industry. She was one of our Amaze Insights awards winners. I did not prompt her. This just happened organically. Tom Cruise, the impersonator, shows up at the event. We have the Amaze Insights step and repeat over there, and I'm just coming through, and I'm with Jamie and Mary Grace. And as soon as Mary Grace sees him, she's, oh my God, I've got to go get my picture with him right now. And so Jamie looks at me with a big smile. She's like, all right, I get it. And then she realized, and that's what I was explaining, is as part of who we are as a company, we want to be extremely serious in the results that we create and the benefits we drive for hotels. but we also don't want to take ourselves too seriously, and we want to have a lot of fun. So we want to create that as part of who we are. And I think we've done exactly that. And now, so the second time around, when I said what I wanted to do at the Ambridge conference, she was like, as long as they think it will be appropriate, which they did. And they were the right company for it, because they are a really fun company, and that they did some really over the top things at their conference, which was truly exceptional. Like, they blew things absolutely out of the water, so it fit with the persona. Now, there are some other companies in the industry that I greatly respect and I would love to do business with, but I would not do something like an impersonator at their events, because it would not fit with who those companies are and that setup. So if you're going into a very corporate atmosphere, then I would think about things maybe a little bit differently. But I think you captured it really well. And that's the part where I look back, and I, like you, obviously right off the bat, I was really impressed with what Lure brings to the table and who you are. And I was so impressed with you on the San Diego HSMAI San Diego board, but it was actually a post you did on LinkedIn where I realized your backstory is a really exciting one. The fact that you used to race motocross, and I see a picture on LinkedIn that catches my eye because it's someone going like way over a massive jump. And I used to not like that. I used to just ride motorcycles for fun. And so I used to look at all the motocross magazines and everything. And then when you mentioned that you used to race, and then I look a little bit closer at the picture you posted, and I see Cory on the back of it. And I was like, oh my, why? That was actually you that is in that. And so I look at that and I'm like, you know what? That's exciting. That is different. And I just love that you put that out on LinkedIn, because even though we had spent a lot of time together on the board and gone, I didn't know you used to race motorcycles. And then it also just came up in organic conversation that we both have twin girls. So that's something where only people who have had twins truly understand what it's like. I think a lot of people think they understand, but anyone who's really been juggling that and going through has that shared perspective. And I think that's what's so important about personal connections and learning about people, which is what I love to do and understand, is you really can see so much about different people's stories and who they are. And I love that.
Hey man, I really appreciate the props. Thank you so much for that. And ironically, you and I had a little conversation about this. It's not my second nature to put myself out there personally on LinkedIn. I don't like to be vulnerable like that. But with that said, I know how much that resonates, especially with sales. And the numbers don't lie. And I'm trying to teach this with my personal struggles, because I'm doing this with you because it's hard for me to put myself on video by myself. I'm much easier to do this because I forget about the cameras rolling and we're having a video, we're having a great time. And I know the importance and how you can connect with these, because one of the other things I want to be able to speak my mind. And one of my posts I wanted to set up is, look, I'm not for everybody.
Sure.
And I want to be that way. And a lot of people, I think, are timid on rocking the boat. And I was worried about people thinking motocross is going to be too extreme for some people. And look, this is who I am. I think I'm a pretty decent guy, and I want to share some of my experiences. I don't want to get what Don Barnett, the eye roll theory, where, oh God, here he goes again, another selfie. I think it can get a little bit too over the top, but I think it's to connect with people. People want to do business with other people. Relationships, it's how we're built. It's DNA. It's how AI is never going to replace that. And
totally agree. And
that's a whole other conversation.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I can't watch myself on video. I don't enjoy it. I don't like looking at it. And it's not the most comfortable thing for me to do the podcasts and the videos. And then I have caught some flack from some of my friends because I'm doing a lot of it right now. But it's also where I do want to grow this company, and I do think it works. So I'm willing to do more of what is a little outside of my comfort zone. Now, what is very much in my comfort zone is the face-to-face one-on-one meetings, spending time at the trade show. I love doing it. And then this right here, I feel like it is us having a conversation. So again, more comfortable with that and going through. But candidly, I won't watch this. So I'll ask people to support it on LinkedIn and go out, but I won't go back and watch it. And if my wife watches it, I'll hope that I'm not just sitting there, because it's not easy to go through, but someone like you does make it easier. So I appreciate that. And it's a chance where, looking at this, I do think we're in what my wife was listening to a podcast that went through is the attention economy. And that is a very big part of where we are right now. So being willing to put yourself out there, especially if you're part of a startup or a scale up, it is incredibly important to just be your true authentic self and just be out there. Where that's the part where my persona on LinkedIn is just who I am. That's where I really do want to focus on building other people up and congratulating other people on their wins. And that's who I am. Like, that is the part where I love to see other people succeed. I truly do. It fills me up and brings me joy. So when I see things on LinkedIn and other people's success on that, and so when I see, for instance, I really enjoyed the time you spent with Lori Keel, and I've been so impressed with her and the thought leadership. So I felt really grateful that I got to follow her and do this after she had recorded, because that's someone I really look up to in the industry. And then when I did Kelly Cardenas's podcast, that one was a little different because he's super broad based, where I was on the same podcast that Eddie George was on. So he's able to get one of the best running backs in the history of the NFL on his podcast, and where he just has the conversation and goes through. And then I just talked to him literally yesterday as we were catching up. He just had a bank robber on his podcast. And as we're just having a conversation, I love people that are the best in their business. And you know what? Business is bank robbing. Not something I'm ever going to do, but I'm going to go through. And this is someone that had that experience. And it is, what's also important is, it wouldn't fit with his brand to have someone on there as a bank robber, but this is a bank robber that then turned his life around and then has out and helped at-risk youth in the community and brought them together. So he met someone with that really unique backstory and then brought that person on for the conversation. And I love things like that, which I realize we went off topic, but I think that's also fun to do too. So
that's funny.
The risk you have with me, Cory.
Yeah. Hey, me too.
An F-bomb yet after you told me not to, or you'd bleep it out. I think I've kept it relatively clean. I almost did, and I caught myself.
Yeah. I'm trying to use that language sparingly. Because when you throw them out willy-nilly, you lose the impact, right?
That's true. Although I did see something that said you can trust people more who use more language, because it is more likely that they're not filtering. And if they're not filtering that, they're not filtering other things too. So, I do want this to be family friendly as well. So
indeed. Hey, I like you said, trying to keep these on point. I could go off on so many tangents with you. I was gonna revert back and make another comment about LinkedIn being the biggest networking opportunity out there for my sales professionals who aren't quite seeing the value yet, but I think wearing them down. I'm saving the best for last. I have had great conversations with people who have a great product. They have a great idea. It solves a specific pain point in the industry, which I think is a prerequisite in getting into market at all now.
No question.
It's got to solve an acute pain that's creating a tremendous thorn in someone's side, right? To capture the demand, or at least address that. It's so much easier to enter a market. A lot of people have all those boxes checked off, still very frustrated. The industry is extremely difficult to get the attention of and make traction. Buying and selling a product to hotels or resorts, very difficult. I would love to hear your take on somebody that's in that scenario right now.
Sure. So what I would say is stick with it. That's the most important part in going through there. And then without question, the type of people that you bring into your organization make a much bigger impact when you are that smaller company. So we just brought on Lindy Suktavong, Dan Calabrese, and both of them are truly exceptional people. And both of them have made a massive impact right off the bat. So if you think about it, if you are a very large company and you have a miss on a hire, the percentage of your company that one person is relatively small. So even though you never want to hire the wrong person, a really large company can get away with doing that. If you are a small startup, scale up, small company, you have to be unbelievably careful on the type of people you bring into the organization, because you're in the stage where you're building the brand. So I would say that's the biggest piece of advice, is being aware of who the right people are to bring in, and then also understanding what your force multipliers are. So that's where I look at people like you who are really well connected in the industry. So if there's a startup or a scale up that needs to do marketing or build a new website or do that, if they can just use any company to do their marketing, why not instead go with someone who actually understands the industry and can bring perspective to the table, and potentially also make introductions to other people in the industry, because that is your force multiplier that allows you to expand beyond what you may have been able to do on your own. So I think that part is just so incredibly important, and the ability to really make an impact and a change to bring.
Those are two really great on-point suggestions. In fact, it reminded me of a comment on LinkedIn, and he's a pretty large influencer on LinkedIn, and he basically was saying, hey, I want to blow up the myth of being niche specific in your industry. And he goes, I've been able to grow. You can be a generalist. I think you can really grow. And I said, yeah, you probably could, but for specific industries, and I'm hoping maybe I can get a little bit of your weight on this as well. You want to be not a jack of all trades, but an expert of one trade. And that industry is no more prevalent than hospitality, right? You got to know, I hate to use you got to be part of the club, right? You use just different language. There's different protocol. We work in silos, or trying to break down silos in Lori Keel's situation. And I was blown away. I didn't know we were operating this way. It was completely, so many things that are niche-y in this industry. You might have somebody that's got gusto, you might have a great operations person, but if you don't know the industry, would you agree in hospitality, it's probably a really big hindrance?
It is absolutely a hindrance, where because this industry really is so different than any others, you have a product, if you think about hospitality, that every night you don't sell a room, it disappears. Where if you're selling widgets or something else, so airlines are a little more similar in that they also have that vanishing inventory, but hotels, you have ownership groups, brands, mixed flag management companies, all these different people and stakeholders. And you also have tech stacks that are very different for each of the players, and the interconnected items on it just creates some really unique challenges. But I also go back to the conversation, if you can hire someone with the right skill set or the right background or the right attitude, which direction do you go in? So obviously the dream scenario is aptitude, attitude, skill set, all of the different components, but you can't always find that person. I always come back to a bad attitude can poison so many other things, and skills are something that you can teach. And I will also say, even skills of hospitality, it is something you can teach. So teaching someone the hospitality industry, it can be done. So if you have someone, great attitude, great experience, and they want to come into hospitality, I do not want to dissuade those people from coming over and doing that, but I think that they also need to do it eyes wide open to understand, and also realizing that travel is one really big industry, but hospitality is very different from, say, airlines and other components of it. And then even the short-term rental space is very different from hospitality. So even though they're interconnected and interrelated, they really are different. So people that can understand both and what's happening, that's truly important. And I think you said it really well in looking at being part of that club and that group. And that's where I look at with the network, because it is a huge, massive industry based on value, but it's actually a pretty small industry as far as the circle of people and how well people know each other. And that's where you realize just how much crossover there really is in our space. So hiring people that really understand that and have positive reputations and are well respected, and that make a really big difference. So that's certainly something that I see.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those insights, Nick. Amazing tips there. And I definitely want to have a follow-up conversation with you because I could sit here for hours trying to keep these a little bit pithy so people are actually
watch the whole thing. I like that. Yeah, that's important too.
Before we leave, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how people can find you, by the way?
Sure, absolutely. So it is Nick Horgan, Chief Commercial Officer of Amaze Insights. My LinkedIn is linkedin.com Nick-Horgan, and then, or feel free to email me, nick@amazeinsights.com, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
You bet. And appreciate the beautiful backdrop. As I mentioned, you took that yourself just recently in preparation of our hurricane storm that was it wasn't a bust in Palm Springs apparently, but it was definitely hyped up here in San Diego. We got a nice little rain, but that was about it, right?
Yeah, so it was the night before where the hype was at its highest, and I had driven by the beach and I saw the sunset was really beautiful, and I just thought I'd like to bring my kids over there and see. So they were running around at the beach, and I snapped the photo that's behind me on my phone, and then I was actually proud of it. Where I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is a good shot, because I'm not a photographer in any way, shape, or form, but it caught the moment in time of, we really didn't know what was going to happen that next day. And that's where I was thinking about, is a lot of times we don't know what's in front of us. And at that time, there was some fear out there as far as exactly what's going to happen and what's coming. And then I'd say most of the day it rained all day, but it was no different than a typical rainstorm. And then I was outside in Carlsbad at about 6 p.m. and it did get intense for about 30-45 minutes with high winds and things happening. But I'm just really grateful that, at least from what I've heard, that everyone was okay and that the storm passed relatively quickly. So that's what I hope happened also as the tropical storm progressed into other areas as well. So.
One last little tip that is that you'd mentioned it brought me back. You were explaining your kids are out on the sand, just running around, really unaware of what you were worried about. And it just shows us the innocence of children and how in a great spot, not even knowing that there was a storm on the horizon.
Yeah, we did tell them. So we actually spent a lot of time on as far as what is happening and the preparation and everything else, but you're exactly right.
They're all,
where their focus, exactly, that goes right over their head. And it's like running into the ocean with their clothes, which is exactly what happened right after this. And then I did go back into the peak of the storm. I wanted to see the ocean and that. And at first, I thought I was the only person on the beach, so I wanted to see it and look at it. And then I did see one person who was going out on a windsurfer. So hopefully he was all right, but literally the only other person there where that was what he chose to do. And I respect his decision as well. And I didn't hear anything about it, which is probably a good sign on something.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was definitely some surfers out up in LA, Mavericks, and so.
Looking for that story and that rush.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the feeling.
Someone who used to race motorcycles probably understands, Cory.
That's right. I still do, by the way. So I can't get it out of my system.
Even better. Good for you.
Hey, man, thank you again so much. And I look forward to a follow-up conversation. Definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cory.
All right, brother. Take care.
Take care.